We're on the front lines dealing with attacks every second, every minute, every hour, every day.
It's one of the highest, attacked targets in the world.
We're dealing with some of the most sophisticated threats in the world targeting our federal government. Files are something that we use in our day-to-day life in the office, whether it's using Microsoft Office documents or Adobe PDF, but they also serve as malware carriers.
And being born under the Pentagon, we had the unfair advantage there of having access to every vendor under the sun.
We're using best of breed in network security solutions. So whether it was the firewalls or the IDS systems, the content filtering solutions, we knew what worked well and what didn't work by using pretty much all of them. We were able to pinpoint, well, what are the things that are missing and how can we address those through a custom solution? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to, catch the bad guys, right? Whether it's supporting our government or supporting corporations, we want to address those shortcomings and identify things at the network layer before it reaches the endpoint.
So that's really what the biggest differentiator that we have is that we're not looking at what everyone else looks at. When it comes to threat intelligence, we can build systems that will take apart the threats that people are throwing at us over the fence. But if we can also monitor the infrastructure that they're using to do these actions, that gives us a two-pronged approach.
Where we sat in the Pentagon, we had tremendous visibility into network traffic, network sessions, and that sort of stuff.
I saw that there was an opportunity there across the board to develop a new solution that we really hadn't seen before. Something that combines network analytics and file analytics in one platform. As far back as I can remember, I was always involved with computers, big gamer growing up, and I think the gaming is actually what got me into having an interest and a curiosity about computers, computer science. By the year 2000, I was working as a contractor at Fort Monmouth's Army base in New Jersey. And that's when I really got big exposure and an opportunity to kind of dive into cybersecurity, where I knew the cybersecurity will become the foundation of how businesses function, and it will be a necessity.
I grew up in New York City. I took the subway to school for high school every day. And it was sometime in high school, I want to say freshman year, that I first discovered 2600 magazine. It talks about different computer hacks or telephony hacks. And on the back page of it, it has a list of meetups. And so I started attending. I was like a 15-year-old kid, just showing up to this random bank of payphones and meeting with like-minded individuals to get inspired to work on new projects, hacking into a computer or hacking into a payphone.
I was employed by Net Forensics for about a year, then ended up taking a position at the Pentagon, defending the command and control center for the most powerful military in the world. And when we talk about the Pentagon, it's not just that building, it's that building plus upwards of 60 different site locations across the national capital region. And that team was responsible for providing monitoring, analysis, escalation, and response to incidents as they occurred across the Pentagon's network infrastructure.
First met Mike at a conference at the Pentagon where I was presenting.
I was working at Tipping Point. Mike was running the PenCert, Pentagon's computer incident response team.
Sort of met and did this sort of geek sniffing test and figured out that we were both relatively competent people.
And it was initially a vendor-customer relationship.
Turned into a friendship, and we've been quite literally friends ever since.
And so we started working with Mike and his team, basically helping build defensive fabric for other tooling they had in the environment.
We're sort of all individuals who have interests, different skill sets, and we're all sort of chasing the same problem, right? Detecting bad guys, finding interesting ways to detect them and sort of mitigate their malicious intent.
We're dealing with some of the most sophisticated threats in the world targeting our federal government. And we would get various intelligence information coming from a lot of different sources in the government side. We could take that and make it actionable and deploy it across the infrastructure. By blocking and preventing we're ultimately taking decision-making out of the user's hands if we're able to do it at the network layer. There's some risk involved in doing things that have never been done before. We were the first computer incident response team to implement intrusion prevention system across the Department of Defense. As a result, we strengthened the Department of Defense's security posture because what we did at the Pentagon was then duplicated across the globe. Firewalls at that time functioning at layer 3, layer 4, the IPS was doing inspection from layer 2 all the way up to layer 7. And really identifying threats at the application layer and preventing those. We basically went from a reactive approach to a proactive approach. I've been in the Pentagon for almost 15 years. It was time to come up for air. I'd like to start my own business, my own consulting firm. I think we could be even providing a greater service to our customer as a result of that, because I'll be able to get even better talent.
The opportunity came back around to join, and I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Him and I had built a friendship over the years, and I jumped on the opportunity.
That was one of the best decisions I ever made. InQuest was born out of necessity, built by the SOC analysts for the SOC analysts. We made a business decision and expanded our offerings to support the private sector by doing the same things that we were doing on-prem for the government in the form of cloud-based offerings. That expansion then enabled us to grow more as a company. We're on the front lines dealing with attacks every second, every minute, every hour, every day. We were able to pinpoint, well, what are the things that are missing and how can we address those through a custom solution? So that's really what we sought out to do with InQuest, is identify malicious content being delivered to the Pentagon user community, either via email as attachments or as downloads over the web.
In the Pentagon, since we were essentially a service provider, we had tremendous visibility into network traffic, network sessions, and that sort of stuff.
When we talk about NDR, or network detection and response, that's when we're taking a network perspective to securing the enterprise. So we can look at the endpoints, for example, that's EDR, that's looking at the actual computer systems themselves. When we're looking at NDR, network detection response, it's the communication between them. And so if your security purview, for example, is from backbone to wall plate, what you have available for you to inspect is the network.
The reason why we built our own platform, our own NDR solution, was to address the shortcomings of those commercial solutions and give us the ability to identify threats not only in the network traffic, but in the files that were being traversed over that network traffic.
I lead the intelligence team at InQuest. Traditionally, network intrusion detection and NDR technology has sort of focused on the session layer, trying to derive all of the intelligence from what you see on the wire up to layer 7. And when we talk about deep file inspection, DFI, you can derive a lot of information out of the network stream, but fundamentally, the network protocols don't put a lot of focus on the content that is transferred. A really powerful feature of the NetTag product is effectively doing all of that network analysis, the same as like an IDS or NDR would, but then also extracting that file and not just giving you the extracted file, but treating that as sort of the beginning of the story. And so once you've extracted the file, now you've got your hands on the attacker's actual tradecraft, not just the channel that it was carried over.
We pick up the baton where everybody else leaves off. We say that we're layer 7 plus. We don't stop at layer 7. We are now peering deep inside of the file.
You have to know what adversaries know. They're going to be able to bypass defenses. And so you have to have something that defensively match that capability, pull everything apart, and really sort of extract the inner parts of that to your analytical engines. And that's precisely what we do.
Mike broached the idea that OPSWAT and InQuest might merge. I personally was excited because I had known Mike for over a decade. I knew his leadership, Andre and Pedram, for that length of time as well, and had a high degree of trust and confidence in them.
When Mike, Pedram, Tom approached me with the idea to merge with InQuest, it was a no-brainer.
One of the biggest perks in being acquired by a company like OPSWAT is that we just came in feeling like we're at home. You know, we've been working with the leadership at OPSWAT for so many years.
The feeling of acquisition by OPSWAT was quite thrilling. We
had always known that we had something, special. It kind of came out of the basement of the Pentagon and had been defending, really one of the most heavily targeted and highly sensitive networks on the planet. So it's very obvious that something like that can make huge impact.
What the acquisition really enables us to do is to bring all these different types of capabilities together onto one single platform, a single offering under the OPSWAT brand.
The deployment of the two companies' solution and technologies that fuse together, that provides significant values to the customers in some of the highest security standard that you can imagine.
The coolest thing for me is probably with our entrance into OPSWAT, the potential to sort of reshape and redefine portions of what MetaDefender is and that whole portfolio of product offering.
We're excited about the opportunity moving forward, and we're especially thrilled about finally being able to accelerate the development and deployment of the network detection and response platform that we've been building over a number of years.
I'm really, really excited about putting some pressure on the marketplace and how we bundle and deliver this next generation sort of NDR.
We're capturing artifacts, objects, files off the network, and we're analyzing them internally, but we're also sending them off to OPSWAT for the multi-scanning, AV consensus. Now that's going to be all one solution. Being able to leverage OPSWAT's resources in terms of development engineering, it's certainly going to accelerate that and help us achieve, a lot of the roadmap future items that we have in providing that next gen NetTAC, which is the network triage analysis control offering.
We have an amazing federal business, and I believe that under Mike's leadership, we can get even a way stronger federal business.
I have a lot of experience and a great understanding of what it truly takes to build a federal business. We're in the process of rebuilding OPSWAT Federal from the ground up. A new team, new vision, new plan.
We're proud to be protecting some of the most critical networks within our nation's defense and intelligence community operations.
The vision really to build out the federal program will be to cater to Department of Defense, the intel communities, law enforcement, the state agencies, so on down the line, but really focusing on building out a federal program that will highlight OPSWAT's offerings.
We have a very bright future after this acquisition.
Our vision and our goal is to provide the best platforms, the best solutions to the federal government, both in OT and IT. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to catch the bad guys, right? Whether it's supporting our government or supporting corporations. Knowing Benny for so long and knowing the leadership teams for so long, understanding the culture, we looked at it as an opportunity to grow faster and expand in terms of our capabilities. We're really excited about the opportunity to be working with OPSWAT and ultimately providing an even better solution to our customer base.